Steve Downie's most recent tweets are on the topic of concussions, which is a very sensitive topic for not only all of sports, but especially hockey, because in the past, there have been a lot of players who have gotten concussions and they were not taken care of properly. And Downie is in fact one of those based on his personal experiences that he describes in the tweets. Let's start off with Downie and his experience with concussions. With the type of player that he is and the type of game that he plays, unfortunately, which he discusses, he has suffered multiple concussions, one of which he suffered in Philadelphia and he talks about here. When I got a concussion in Philly, I spent 3 days in the hospital bed. Ed Schneider came in and sat next to me just to make sure I was doing okay. Honestly, I think this is a really classy move by the Philadelphia organization, and I think every NHL team should do this, because no matter what, no matter if they're a grinder or they're a superstar or how insignificant or significant you think they are, your players mean a lot to your organization. You'd be nowhere if you didn't have them. So I think this is what you need to do. You need to make sure that your guys are doing okay, because you'd have your trainers check up on a guy who has a leg injury, wouldn't you? So why don't you have that same exact protocol sort of for concussions? I don't know exactly what the concussion protocol is for every single other team. It's going to vary from doctor to doctor, trainer to trainer, team to team. But Downie does discuss the Arizona ones in typical fashion, and they're not exactly all that great. And if there are more teams that do this, I would honestly be pretty disgusted. Steve Downie tweeted about what happened in Arizona when he got a concussion in Arizona, and his tweet goes, "I got a concussion with Arizona. They don't call or check up. They actually sent me to a knee doctor. Ha ha." That, I mean, should I use the term that Downie loves using, classless? I mean, to not check up on your players, no matter who they are, is just really, I really don't like that. That doesn't sit well with me. I don't think that's right. Whether it's true or not, again, as I mentioned in my previous video, I don't think Downie would make this kind of stuff up, especially because of the type of player and person he is. This really doesn't sound good. I take it with a grain of salt, of course, but this that's not okay. I mean, I really don't know what else to say about that, because this is a man whose injured career could be over because concussions are so scary, as I've already said multiple times. So why would that happen? I just don't understand. One of the parts of this that I think hits home the most is the fact that Steve Downie said that he wished he never played. This comment came after when a fellow Twitter user responded to one of Downie's comments about concussions saying, "Speaking of concussions," and attached a gif of Downie laying a very dirty hit on a Penguins player. Now, this Penguins player, he actually sustained a concussion, a pretty nasty concussion from the hit, and Downie expressed great guilt and remorse for what happened. His tweets directly state, "That hit is what happens when you watch Don Cherry Rock'em Sock'em videos from age 5 to 18. Nothing good comes from those videos. I just did what I had to do to play. I still think about what I did to Dean McOmond and what I caused him to go through with his family. But again, I did what Don Cherry said to do every Saturday night. Just effing disgusted when I look back. Wish I never played." Now, last sort of Twitter rant, I guess you could say, he said that he had given up on AZ, which, says a lot about a guy and says a lot about an organization. And for him to also say that he wished he had never played is quite a lot. It's a lot more than that previous statement. One thing that I'd really like to point out is that Steve Downie said that he played how he had to play. And that sort of opens up doors as to what does the NHL really mean? Like, what are they really encouraging in players? Steve Downie officially came into the league in 2007, so that's only 10 years removed from this coming year. So you can't say that the game he played back then and played up until about last year is completely different than the game we're playing now. He's seen it all across the board. He's seen it across multiple organizations. And I think he and many other guys like him would know better than anybody just what the NHL promotes. And I'm not here to say that the NHL completely promotes violence and they want you to go hitting people and hurting people and causing severe injuries. No, because definitely in the recent years, they have moved away from that. They have definitely tried to make rules, especially after Crosby sustained that terrible concussion a few years back. They have definitely moved away from that and said that's not what we want to do. And they crack down on people pretty consistently about what they do. And I like that the direction the NHL is moving towards, but still, there's still that resonation of we're still not doing enough. While the NHL is headed in the right path with concussion protocol and all that these days, I think they still need to bump it up, and they need to give sort of those calls. I don't know if they give them, but they need to make sure that they give calls and say, hey, how are you doing? Are you doing good emotionally, mentally, stuff like that, because there have been previous stories of players who have sustained injuries, later committed suicide, so it's a very, very dangerous area and territory that we're dwelling into, and I think that needs to be addressed. And it's starting to. I think, again, the NHL is definitely on the right path. We just need to continue on that and maybe push it a little more. So this is really just an issue that the NHL needs to address, and I think the fans need to understand as well, because while it's fun to watch hockey and while it's aggressive, and that's probably a pretty interesting part of it, we need to understand that it's very important to make sure that our players are safe and healthy, and when they're not healthy, we need to make sure that they're being taken care of, because I feel like that's just not even, I don't even want to say that it's just a classy thing to do, but it seems like it's just the right thing to do. You don't have to be classy to do it. You just have to be, I think, a good human being to check up on somebody and make sure that they're doing all right. I really think you guys should look into this. Anything that was discussed in here. Look at Downie's article that he retweeted today. You can look up multiple different guys and what has gone on regarding concussion protocol and concussions in the past. I mean, a lot of them are pretty sad, but it's very interesting, and it's a part of the league that we really need to look into.